They made some great recommendations. We got some great feedback last night. We'll take all that into account. That's what's great about one more public hearing. It was one more opportunity to hear from residents some legitimate concerns, some we've talked about. So that's why we have these, is to hear those concerns. And now we move on and see where we go from there.
Welcome to Herrimanology,
the official podcast to keep up with Herriman City.
We'll take you inside the city, explore the latest news and updates, show you how your government operates, and discuss the issues that affect us all. Now, here are your hosts talking all things Herriman on Herrimanology.
All right, welcome to Herrimanology. It is Thursday, April 3rd. Happy spring break to all who are celebrating.
Except us.
Right, it's spring break on the calendar, not outside, but...
Right.
Thanks, by the way, for coming on your spring break. You've been kind of taking it off this week, spending some time with the family. By the way, I saw you on the Jumbotron at the hockey game the other night.
We had so much fun. That was our spring break splurge. We went to the hockey game as a family, and since we didn't go out of town anywhere, so we went to the hockey game and had a blast.
I was like, I know him. I was there with my family. And
my phone blew up during that. Yes, there were several Herriman residents at the hockey game.
Love it.
Great.
I'm John LaFollette, Communications Manager for Herriman City, joined today by Mayor Palmer. How are you?
Good to be here.
Speaking of spring break, there's some construction work on 134th we've talked about here before that has been going on this week. Yes, it was on purpose to make it happen during spring break. No, it's not in our city, and even if it was, it's not our project. Anyway, I just preempting a lot of questions there, but there's construction work on 134 near Bangor Highway. That will be wrapped up. At least those particular interruptions by this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have been asking, when can we turn right onto southbound Bangor? Not until early May, but
we're getting there.
Yes.
Like we're halfway through this. Yep. We've made it. We survived. So.
Not to confuse that with the bridge project. That's not going to be until the fall.
Correct.
But man, when all those are done, that's
I saw UDOT video of where they're coming, and we're really close. We really are. They said end of fall, right? And so we're going to get there. We're going to make it. So.
Yeah. A couple weeks out from our new bus line.
Yes.
And by our, I mean UTA's new bus line that goes through our city.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a news agency came by yesterday, did a story on it, interviewed you.
Mm-hmm.
Nice job.
It was fun.
So excited. That'll start April 14th. First full-time bus route in Herriman that I'm aware of.
Yep.
And hopefully more to come in the future, but for now, this one will connect you to the track station in Daybreak and the front runner station in Draper, run you through Herriman and Riverton. So that's really positive.
It's great. It's exciting news.
I want to mention last night was a planning commission meeting. We've kind of previewed it a little bit in previous podcasts. It was the first public hearings for several land exchange items related to the goal of the athletic complex. We've talked about this a lot. If you listen to Herrimanology, you're very familiar with that.
Yeah.
Now that meeting has happened. Just wanted to clarify a few frequently asked questions or frequently expressed concerns. With any property, there are a few different formalities or maps that we're dealing with here. There's the general plan map, there's a zoning map, and in some cases there's a master development agreement. Those are all technically separate things.
Right.
It's going to take too much time to fully explain all of them.
It would.
But we had some confusion with the postcard this week. Some people saw multifamily, but they're hearing from the city, no, it's going to be single family. How do we explain that?
That's hard. And this is what I've told people is we really have some holes still in our zoning ordinances where there's certain gaps of really where we need some of the housing. I think in the city, it's some of those smaller lots. There's still single family, right? But so the closest zone that matched one of the proposals was this R210, but we were going to put a restriction on it, what they call a zoning condition, to max it out at this single family homes. Really what we need to do is fix that to where there is a single family zone in that range for this proposal. Again, that's not saying anything was approved or has been approved. It's just there's this area in there where we're missing in this gap from. So that's just why that proposal came through. But there are thoughts about maybe lowering that, making that a more restrictive zone with rather than the less restrictive zone, so we can so there's discussions about how to move forward after the concerns last night, but that's really what it is. And then trying to match up because really you're supposed to match up the zoning to the general plan at the end of the day too. So one of those was just to match the general plan to the already existing zoning, which was already there. So
in a perfect world, the general plan is that it's general, it's long range, it is here's what we would like the city to be eventually at some point. And so that theoretically would inform the zoning map, or that would, I don't want to say dictate because that's too strong of a word, but that will help make decisions with zoning. Zoning is more I don't know the right way to explain it, but there's the general plan designation, like here's the vision for this property. The zone is here's what it legally is designated as.
That's a great way to put it. Yep.
And a master development agreement can override zoning too. So the confusion here, there's a postcard for a notice that said the we're calling it the Sorrento property in this land exchange would be designated, if approved, as R210, which is a multi-family zone. And people are, again, hearing us say, no, it's going to be single family. That's where the confusion is. So you were saying we don't have a zone in our code that we can slap on that and say single family at this amount of units per acre.
Correct. Yes.
So R210 was, at that time, the closest we have. So that's what that is. But the master development agreement would override that zone anyway.
Correct.
And say, no, regardless of what the zone says, it's going to be 113 single family homes on this 18-piece property, which it can be hard to we were talking about this just internally here a little while ago. It can be hard to kind of imagine what that would look like. If you're familiar with the Jackson community, which is where I happen to live, it's about that density is what we're talking about. If you look at the different lot sizes, it's about that,
right?
When you're talking about the Sorrento property. And if you're new to this athletic complex thing, sorry, here this is a whole bunch of
right.
But if you want to get an idea of what we're talking about, single family homes are about that size of lot. Anyway, just wanted to, there are a lot of questions in there that we've seen, and hopefully that will help answer for those who listen to the podcast. So the Planning Commission did hear all those last night. It will go to the City Council eventually later this month, we're anticipating.
They made some great recommendations. We got some great feedback last night. We'll take all that into account. That's what's great about one more public hearing. It was one more opportunity to hear from residents some legitimate concerns, some we've talked about, right? So that's why we have these, is to hear those concerns. And now we move on and see where we go from there.
And again, want to make clear too that this isn't, we said this very explicitly last week too, but this isn't an approval or denial opportunity of an athletic complex. This is for a land exchange to set up the opportunity for an athletic complex.
Right.
We want that very clear as well. Athletic complex is the goal, but as we state on our website, we cannot guarantee the athletic complex is going to come. We hope it will, and we think it will.
Yeah.
But we can't guarantee anything until it's there, it's funded and everything, right? So,
well, I see that a lot on social. It's no guarantee. Well, you're right, because nobody wants to get into those serious negotiations, even with us as a city, until this is secure, right? But we've had, I can't tell you how many people are interested in seeing this happen. So we do believe it will happen, right? We wouldn't be moving forward if we didn't feel very, very confident that this could be a possibility.
Yeah. So if you have any other questions about the athletic complex, Herriman.gov/athletic-complex will have most of the answers to most of the questions you have. If you have any others, just reach out to us and we'll try to fill you in.
Please do. Yes.
So, it'll be coming before the City Council sooner rather than later, and it'll move one way or the other. So
we'll see.
I want to mention too, this afternoon, your phone is probably going to blow up with and I'm speaking to the general you society here.
Yes.
Your phone's probably going to blow up with an emergency alert test. That's the state of Utah. They do, I think, annually, just to test that. It's probably going to alarm you. Sorry, in behalf of them, but it's important, and it will probably startle you. But just be aware of that. It's a test, and
4:00, right? If I'm not,
I think so. Yeah, 4:30, somewhere in there. That's called a wireless emergency alert. It's part of the IPAWS system. We love our acronyms. IPAWS is Integrated Public Warning Alert System, in case you didn't want to know. So we just more of our acronyms, but there's a test of that today that includes on radio and phone and everything. So I think it's a test Amber Alert, but
right. That's what I think I read. Yeah.
So anyway, just be prepared for that. You're probably listening to this after it's already happened, but
we tried.
Just a heads up.
Right.
Spring cleanup is in a couple of weeks. Herriman.gov/cleanup. We'll have all the information there. I did see one person comment on one of our podcast episodes that they were a little frustrated that might be too restrictive, that you're only allowed to bring in 2 loads, whereas before you could theoretically come in unlimited amount of times if you're a resident. There are a lot of reasons for that. Part of the reason is we only have so many people and we only have so much money to do this, and it costs time and money for additional loads. So in that sense, yeah, it is restricting more than previous years, and that's a bummer to get that, but that's us trying to provide the service but also be conscious of costs and staff time.
We've always got to balance that. Yep.
Yeah. Want to mention too, right now we're participating in a program for discounted rain barrels.
Yep.
For water conservation efforts and for landscaping efforts, things like that. So the last couple of years we've participated with the Utah Rivers Council and a lot of other cities to do a discounted rain barrel program. We're doing that again this year. Still plenty of barrels available. So if you're interested, and by rain barrels we mean you can buy a barrel that basically sits under the gutter by your house, the rain spout, and collects the rainwater that way, and then you can hook up a hose to it and water plants with that rather than using sprinkler water, things like that.
Fantastic way to conserve.
To incentivize that, the Herriman City is participating in discounts to help cover some of the cost for your rain barrel if you're interested. So we have limited amount of those. I think the cost is $57. And if those sell out, then it's still discounted through the Utah Rivers Council at 85, 87, somewhere around there.
Right there. Yeah.
The full price for these barrels is 100 and something, but if you're interested, go to our social media or to herriman.gov and you'll see references to it and you can follow the process. I will note the process is not ours. It is maddeningly frustrating and confusing. Just try to follow the directions step by step. If you get stuck, reach out to us. We'll try to help you. It's a multi-step, multi-website process. So
wow.
Good luck, but it's cool. I did get one last year. They're good-looking barrels, so thanks to the city.
I need to grab one
for covering one of those.
I love it.
Do you want to note too? We've only sold like 20-ish out of the 200 or so that we're helping to discount. The first 50, we're doing a double discount, so you can get 2 barrels at the discounted price.
Oh, wow.
Just to try to help move those along and help people conserve water. So if you're interested, go sooner rather than later and try to beat the crowd.
That's great.
All right, we'll let you get back to your spring break. Thanks for coming in. I feel like I've been gabbing at you today, so sorry about that. Just kind of an information dump here.
I learned a lot today. That
there you go.
We don't keep up on all of this stuff. We just can't as council. But
there's
so
much
great.
There's so much that cities do. I didn't really realize it until I started working here. I didn't know how city governments work or state governments or anything. There's so many just random things that city governments do. So,
and I had no idea and it's been eye-opening. But man, you learned a ton in this too. It's amazing.
I've been here 7.5 years and still learning stuff. And I'm pretty familiar with how things work, but there's always something else to learn. So,
fantastic.
To that end, if you have a question, leave us a comment or send an email, communications@herriman.gov, and we'll try to get to it in our next episode. So now we'll let you get back to your spring break. Thank you, Mayor Palmer, for coming in.
Good to see you again.
Thank you for listening and watching, and we will catch you next time.